You don't feel good enough, and that leads you to depression. Hello, I'm Emilia Tsaneva, psychotherapist, and today we'll talk about the possible reasons for low self-esteem and what you can do about it. Many people with low self-esteem feel generally not welcome in the world, in their families, in their friendships, in their workspace. They generally feel unwelcome. Where does this come from? It's often the case that actually the parents really wanted the child, so it's not like it wasn't an unwanted pregnancy. Sometimes the child is really wanted, but it comes in a very difficult moment for the family or in a dysfunctional family where maybe there is some addictions, maybe the parents don't understand each other well, they're fighting all the time, maybe there are financial difficulties, and usually children, no matter what happens, they think it has to do with them. So it doesn't matter that maybe it's something between the parents, it has nothing to do with the child. Since the child is in this environment, it kind of thinks that, okay, it's my fault, I'm a bad person, that's why this is happening, that's why my mom is unhappy. So they feel unwelcome. They try to take as little space as possible. They kind of hunch, they try to hide themselves in a way. They usually feel like they don't fit anywhere because how can you fit when you are not welcome? And this they carry with them for many years if they don't have a look what actually was going on, and that they're actually welcome, that they have their place in the world as well. Second possible reason for low self-esteem is when the child didn't get the chance to learn to stand on its own feet. Usually around the third year, it's the time where the child learns to say no, to do things for itself, to have some opinions, to say what clothes it wants, to make some choices. And this is a very important time of the development of the child. It's crucial that the child learns to do things for itself and to make some choices, small choices of course, but that's where we all start. What happens sometimes is that the parents, they're in such a hurry, they have so much going on that they say, no, I will tie your shoes, I don't have time to wait for you, let me dress you, you can't get dressed yourself, we don't have time, we're in a hurry, you're so slow. And it's understandable that it's a lot going on for the parents. They have a lot on their plate, but the message that the child gets in such situations is like, you can't do it, you're not good enough, and that stays with them. There are also the cases where one of the parents, it can be the father as well, usually it's the mom, they're so unhappy in their life that they kind of stick to the child in a way that it's the only good thing in my life, I can't lose it, I need to be needed. And that's of course unconscious thing to do. It's not a conscious decision for most parents, but this way, when the child is the only good thing in the life of the parent and they really need to feel needed, they don't allow the child to learn to take care of itself. They do too much for the child. They take all the decisions for it. They don't give the child the opportunity to make some choices as well. And this way we have a child that grows up to be an adult who has no idea how to take decisions, who has no idea how to take care of themselves, who has really low self-esteem and is constantly looking for others to tell him or her what to do and in which direction to go. The third possible reason for low self-esteem is when a child grows up with an overly critical parent. So if the parent is constantly unhappy with what the child does, if the grades at school are so important and it always has to be the maximum, so nothing is good enough if it's not perfect, and the child is constantly compared to other children, maybe to the child of the neighbors or a sister or a brother, and it's always like, why are you doing it like this? See your sister, or see Lily there, she's so wonderful, she's doing this, she's doing that, and you, can't you be just at least a little bit like her? And when a child gets this message, it really stays there. It's, you're not good enough, you're incapable, everybody else are better than you are, and it stays for years there. So when it comes to mistakes, children need to do mistakes, children need to sometimes break things. This is how they learn, and this is how we as adults learn as well when we try out new things. And an overly critical parent, they react extremely dramatic when something even small gets broken or the child does a mistake. So this is where the low self-esteem might come from. Of course, all these possible reasons for the low self-esteem have to do with the upbringing and how the parents were treating you as a child. And this is not to blame the parents. This is not helpful to say, hey, it's your fault I have self-esteem issues, I don't feel good enough because of you. This is not working, because at the end of the day, parents always do the best they can and they deeply care about their children. Sometimes they do harmful stuff, that's true, but it's not a conscious thing. So it's good to know where this low self-esteem comes from, where this feeling of not good enough comes from, in order to change something today, because we can't change the past, and it's not helpful to blame the parents for the difficulties you have. The only thing that makes sense is actually to see where these difficulties come from and see what you can do today in order to feel better. So, what you can do. The first thing is to use the connection between body, emotions, and mind. Usually, people who have low self-esteem, and especially people who suffer from depression, they kind of have this closed body posture. Like the shoulders are like this, and the back is hunched, and it sends a signal into the world like, stay back, I try to be invisible, don't come too close, I'm afraid, I don't want to connect with you. So what you can do is to actually straighten the back, open the shoulders, and do this consciously. So every time you take this posture, it sends your brain the signal that you can take space, actually. You are open to the world, you're not afraid, you feel good, you want to connect to other people, you can show yourself, you're not afraid, you are enough. So this way, through these signals from the body, you can help yourself to feel better. The trick is to be consistent. So maybe put a reminder on your phone to check on your posture a couple of times per day until it becomes a habit of yours to check with yourself, how am I sitting or standing at the moment, and then just straighten your back. The second thing you can do to support yourself is to stop comparing yourself. And I know that's a difficult one, especially if your parent was constantly comparing you to others. But it's crucial to stop doing this to yourself. The only time comparison with someone else makes sense is if you want to have a look what works for other people so that we test it out. So in the moments where we want to learn from others so that we don't need to make all mistakes by ourselves, so that we can learn from the mistakes and the successes of other people to move our life forward. That's the only time you are allowed to compare with others. However, since most people who don't feel good enough use comparison to put themselves down, to prove themselves how bad they are, how nothing good happens to them, just skip it altogether. The best thing you can do is to compare yourself with yourself, to focus how you developed, how was it like 1 year ago, 10 years ago, what was difficult for you, what action did you take, what effort did you put in, and to see your development, because each of us has their own path in life, their circumstances. We all come from different backgrounds. For some people, some areas are more difficult, for others, other areas. So the only thing that makes sense is actually to compare yourself with yourself in the past and see how you developed, so that you can keep working on it, keep putting effort, keep developing, and keep building a better life for yourself. The third thing that you can do to support yourself is to train your inner critic into being your inner fan. Again, if you grew up with a critical parent, this inner voice, it's very critical as well. It doesn't have to be like this. You can do something about it. You can train your inner voice to be your fan and to be supportive. And it's a process. It doesn't happen like today I just click a button and that's it, my inner voice adores me. It takes effort, it takes consciousness. As a first step, it's enough to be aware of how you talk to yourself and see what you can do to be more supportive towards yourself, especially in the situations where you see you are triggered, you are vulnerable, you made a mistake, or you have conflict with someone else. How can you support yourself? Choose consciously to talk nicely to yourself, to see, okay, I messed up, it happens to everyone, let's see how to fix it, let's see what I can learn out of it, let's see how I can be nice to myself. So changing this inner voice, changing how you treat yourself, it helps you build self-esteem, because you deserve really good care, support, nice attitude. And when you start giving this to yourself, your self-esteem starts to grow as well. If you have difficulties with depression and boundaries, make sure to check out our video about depression and boundaries.